Need advice? Well, ask James Harrison. He's now giving out advice to anybody who needs it. James Harrison, Mr. Advice, former Pittsburgh Steeler, now doing the media circuit and offering advice to Le'Veon Bell. This is another edition here of Mic Drop on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Make sure to keep on subscribing and checking in on our YouTube channel here at Pittsburgh Sports Live. Find us on Twitter and find us, here's the YouTube channel for you, and find us on Twitter at PGH Sports Live. There you go, actually. Got it now. There it is, at PGH Sports Live. Check out our websites at pghsportslive.com. Also hit up Pittsburgh Hockey Now and Pittsburgh Sports Now. But James Harrison offering advice. James Harrison offering advice to Le'Veon Bell. And what kind of advice is that? Well, James Harrison is telling Le'Veon Bell to report back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, come back in Week 11, when you have to, sit out till Week 11, come back in Week 11 when you have to, and collect that free agent year, and then fake an injury. So you don't have to get that tread on your tires. He's trying to think of Le'Veon Bell to preserve him. That's the whole point of sitting out now, isn't it? Preserve yourself, be able to not have that those tread on your tires. The team and you are already divorcing and parting ways. What do you care about your team and your teammates? Come back in Week 11 and then fake an injury. It's funny to hear. It's not as insane as maybe some would think, because we got to this point now with Le'Veon Bell already missing so many games, already getting fined, already missing all these game checks, and clearly wanting to preserve himself and not risk his body for a team that he feels is not willing to dish out the money that he wants. And he's about the money more than the team and about winning, apparently. So it's not insane advice. It's funny to hear, though, that kind of advice, especially from a former teammate and a former Steeler in James Harrison. But I will say that, boy, if Le'Veon Bell thinks he's caught the ire of the fan base now, or his teammates, and we touched on a couple weeks ago how his teammates turned on him, and you were hearing a lot of comments from his teammates that, hey, we didn't think he was going to miss games, that he lied to us. They felt stabbed in the back. Well, imagine if that happens, and imagine that the Steelers aren't this stupid now. I was at Mike Tomlin's press conference this week, and he wouldn't even answer anything on Le'Veon Bell. There's nothing new on Le'Veon Bell. In terms of, there's no update, nobody with the Steelers having any communication, and he didn't want to really expound on that in any way. There was no information on Le'Veon Bell. So Mike Tomlin won't really say anything else on Le'Veon Bell. The Steelers' message on Le'Veon Bell is to not have one in terms of their message with the media. Comes back Week 11 and then fake an injury. That's what James Harrison says. I'd imagine the Steelers and his teammates are going to be ready for this, aren't going to be too surprised, and maybe you're going to say he's not in shape, maybe won't play him right away. I'd imagine that's going to be a game of chicken if he does wait. I never thought he'd wait all the way to Week 11, but if he does take it to that point, and it wouldn't surprise me at any point now, then that is the James Harrison advice to, hey, sit out. Fake an injury. Don't say that it's because you don't want to play. You're doing your best. You're there in Week 11. You just got hurt. You got hurt in the practice. Shocks. Didn't think that was going to happen. Yeah. Funny advice, though. James Harrison telling Le'Veon Bell, Week 11, come back. And then fake an injury and sit out the rest of the year. Preserve your body. Because you want that bag. If the Steelers aren't going to give you that bag, they're not going to give you the straight cash, homie. And as we'll get to here in a second, other teams might. There's now rumors. Le'Veon Bell in trade rumors already. He might not even have to worry about Week 11 with the Pittsburgh Steelers and fake an injury, because there already now are grumblings of a potential trade. Steelers listening to offers and some teams biting. So we'll touch on that as well. Once again here, this is another episode of Mic Drop on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I am your host, Mike Asti. You can find us on Twitter at PGH Sports Live. You can find us on a YouTube channel, Pittsburgh Sports Live. Want to make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And there it is for you. There's the proof in the pudding. James Harrison says Le'Veon Bell should fake an injury after signing his tender. So, James Harrison advice to Le'Veon Bell, Week 11, come back. All of a sudden, you're hurt in practice, fake an injury, don't put more tread in your tires, and then rejoin the team or never really rejoin the team, but be there, fake an injury, say you can't play, and rejoin another team next season. Now, we mentioned how the Steelers could just maybe not care anyway, and they're no longer making comments on Le'Veon Bell. There's no longer communication between the Steelers and Le'Veon Bell, or at least that's what Mike Tomlin is selling us. So, all we know that Le'Veon Bell has been up to is, there you go. Le'Veon Bell hits Miami club during Steelers holdout. So that's all we know Le'Veon Bell has been up to during the holdout. He's been in Miami. He's been in some nightclubs. He's been having fun. Nightlife there for Le'Veon Bell. He's getting fined. He's losing some money, but James Harrison advice, Week 11, then sit out. Interesting to say the very, very least. Now, there are rumors. In fact, rumors, New York Jets, among other teams. There's some who say there's up to 7 teams that are interested and have inquired about Le'Veon Bell. Steelers listening to offers, and really at this point now, they should. Obviously, that's not even really much of a debate. He's clearly going to keep missing games. He's off their depth charts. He's already missed more games than he thought. Team feels lied to. He wants the money. They can't offer him any more money. They're not going to offer him any more guaranteed money. It's already past that point. I've argued before maybe they should have offered him some guaranteed money and he has some validity for his gripe. But now they can't offer him any more guaranteed money. So this is where they're stuck. They're at an impasse. And instead, if they don't want to get to that Week 11 point with James Harrison and the advice and all those issues, then trade him, see what they can get. But they would obviously get the conditional pick if he does leave in free agency, so it's going to have to be a third-round pick or more to trade him before Week 11 and before you get to that nonsense of James Harrison telling him to fake an injury and sit out. Are there teams? New York Jets. Look at the Jets. Sam Darnold, the young stud there taking over the franchise, new face of the franchise, but they haven't been in the playoffs in a while. There's not many stars around. Raul Evers is long gone. They're a rebuilding team. Would they mind having a Le'Veon Bell, a superstar Le'Veon Bell, who they will pay because they have the cap space? Will they think that's going to jumpstart them into winning, help Sam Darnold's progression, add so much to the offense, unlike the Steelers, who are still scoring points without Le'Veon Bell, even though the offense would mightily be better off with Le'Veon Bell, of course, and we will also get to that in a second. But the Jets would need him even more. So the Jets seem like a team that's very obvious. The Indianapolis Colts, they're not winning this year, but they still have Andrew Luck, who's relatively young, now healthy. They feel like they have a future, and it could be bright. The defense, a little bit better. They're a little bit more competitive than they were last year without Andrew Luck. They don't really have a running game. The offensive line is a little bit better, but it needs to protect Luck more. So you figure they maybe could bring in a star, maybe bring in another offensive weapon with T.I. Hilton and company, and maybe think that also will help protection for Andrew Luck because it'll be somebody else to focus in on for the defense. Offensive line is not what the Steelers have, though, so it'll be interesting how Bell deals with that. Before the Garoppolo injury, the Niners thought they had a chance to win this year. Probably not now because they're basically trying out the former Houston Texans Funky Bunch is who they're bringing in there to see. Tom Savage is one who I believe they took a look at, former Pitt product. And now they're kind of rebuilding again, or overall rebuilding, but probably a year behind now with their schedule. Bringing a superstar back, add more weapons to Garoppolo whenever he is healthy. They're still going to go to him next year, you'd imagine, based on that contract. So there are teams that could be vying for Le'Veon Bell. There are teams that wouldn't surprise me if they would trade for Le'Veon Bell, and regardless, next year he'll get money somewhere. Look at the guaranteed money floating around, 44 guaranteed to Todd Gurley, 30-plus guaranteed to David Johnson. there's going to be guaranteed money, and Le'Veon Bell will probably get more guaranteed money than he was offered with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which was only around $10 million, despite a lot of money per year and decent amount of years in that contract. And all the ailments and all missing games, some team will bite, some team will want the production, some team will want one of the best running backs in football, if not the best, and he'll get the bag. Will he be traded is really the question. And the Steelers, I would certainly listen to offers, but I would have to get a second-round pick or above to really make that trade legitimate. I don't know if teams are going to do that knowing that it's now going to be a half season of work, knowing that they may or may not re-sign him. So is that a guarantee signing situation? Or are you only being able to deal with the Colts, the Niners, the Jets, a few other teams that potentially he could sign long-term with that will pay him? Because if you trade him to, say, New England and they don't need him, but if you trade him to New England and they aren't going to re-sign him long-term, then he's not going to want to go there. He may sit out too. It's not just about the team and winning. Otherwise, he'd be a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He wants the money and the guaranteed money. And if he's traded somewhere that he doesn't believe that team will pay him, then that's going to be a problem as well. But to move on from the Steelers drama that I always have to open up every show with, to get full-fledged into the Steelers game, because they did finally win. Steelers did get a victory here. They finally were able to pick up a victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Monday Night Football. Ben Roethlisberger actually named AFC Offensive Player of the Week with his spread, 350-plus yards, 3 touchdowns. Did have the interception early, but really turned it on late and so valuable. He won't get MVP votes. He's never won an MVP in his career, but masking the offensive line for years, helping it in that game, allowing that team to move down the field and at least collect yards, eventually scoring the points, leading away with that offense. And without Ben, they wouldn't have won that game of Monday Night Football. And without Ben, they wouldn't have won as many games as they've won in the past 10 years. Very arguably underrated with this fan base. So many of you out there saying that you, for years, were just dogging him, didn't think he was a Hall of Famer, thought he was overrated, would trash him week after week. And Mike Tomlin gets this too, and that'll be a show for another day. But Ben Roethlisberger needs to be appreciated for the fullest. No, he's not what he was in his prime. No, he's not Tom Brady. No, he's not what Peyton Manning was in his prime. No, he's not Aaron Rodgers. But he is certainly on a tier that is an elite quarterback, a consistent elite quarterback that helps you win games and will help lead the way. And without him, this team would be dead in the water, and that includes Ben now at his later years. So as long as he stays and as long as he can lead this team is as long as Steeler fans should want him around, because trust me, you will not enjoy the period of time after Ben retires until somebody else gets in there. And there is no Aaron Rodgers to his Brett Favre or Steve Young to his Joe Montana right now. None of that's going on. There's Landry Jones is gone and wasn't going to be the guy anyway. Mason Rudolph isn't, we don't know. He's not the guy. It's a question mark. Dobbs is there. That's a question mark too. You don't know. There's no confidence that somebody's going to step right in and lead you to another 10 years of contention with another elite level play and maybe a future Hall of Famer. That's not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. You have that now with Ben, and just a really great game overall for him that led the team to the victory on Monday Night Football. Ben, AFC Offensive Player of the Week, so he got the individual hardware there to show for it, and the Steelers finally got a win. This, again, is a radio gold quality, so it's visual too, so it's overall not just radio gold edition here of Mic Drop on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Go to our YouTube channel, Pittsburgh Sports Live there on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to get notifications to my show, Kongursky's show, Mike Vukovican's show on what's going on with Pitt and Pitt Athletics and Pitt football, namely right now. Alan Saunders Football Friday, and really all our content. I'm at Tomlin's press conference every week. Alan's at Narduzzi's press conference. There's tons of content. Dan's giving you everything from the Penguins, comments from Sullivan, comments from Sprong, comments from Hornquist, a Kessel clip that is still churning the wires there and getting clicks. So we're bringing you the content as fast as we can, and you get notifications right away, make it easier for us to get to you by subscribing there on the Pittsburgh Sports Live YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at PGH Sports Live. Follow me on Twitter at Mike Asti 11. And I don't give all their Twitter handles, but find the rest of us there on the Twitterverse as well. Steelers get that Monday Night Football victory. So Ben AFC Offensive Player of the Week. They get the Monday Night Football victory, now 1-1-1, a loss, a tie, and the victory. Still the bottom of the division, nothing to be impressed with yet, but they certainly showed a lot of signs of improvement in that victory over Tampa in terms of the defense was able to force turnovers. The defense was not able to get bullied across the field as they were in weeks 1 and 2, and Ben played much better as that game went on. The interception early, but that was a great defensive play, and then played great AFC Offensive Player of the Week throughout that game. The offense kind of slow in the second half, but eventually picked up. Now, that's how they got the win, though. But a lot of that was mistakes on Tampa Bay. Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Conor McGregor of the NFL. You're going to see him here. The Fitz magic that is Ryan Fitzpatrick. That kind of left you a little bit on the Monday Night Football game. And not to be negative here, but I'm not negative. I'm just... The Steelers got to win, so that's great. Ben, you got to appreciate him, as I said, AFC Offensive Player of the Week. That's wonderful. But the defense was better. The team was better. But it still wasn't Super Bowl contender better in terms of the defense forced turnovers, but was allowing yards around the turnovers. Maybe those are more mistakes of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick did not have a great game. 400-plus yards passing, but a lot of mistakes for Ryan Fitzpatrick, was not efficient. Throughout most of that game, was getting heavily criticized on the broadcast, and it did seem like some Fitz magic finally left the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which creates controversy of what's going to happen with them next week. So the Steelers still have a lot to work on in terms of still missing tackles, still allowing yards, allowing Fitzpatrick and the Buccaneers to move up and down the field as they were with Kansas City, as they were with Cleveland, but forcing turnovers, taking advantage of opportunities, and certainly room for improvement around the Pittsburgh Steelers, finally able to get that victory. So I'm going to throw the picture up there again because just you love seeing Ryan Fitzpatrick, the NFL's Conor McGregor now. You lose some Fitz magic, but he threw it up there in one press conference. You got to give him the love for that. I mean, this guy bringing out the hairy chest, bringing out the gold necklace, the jumpsuit, and the sunglasses, that looked like Conor McGregor more than Conor McGregor looks like Conor McGregor. But the Steelers got to him. Big Ben there, 353, 3 touchdowns, interception. James Conner, still not Le'Veon Bell at all, and I got flack for this, but he's not replacing Le'Veon Bell, guys. Let's calm down on that as well. That's becoming evident, too. He's filled in well. He had a great week 1 that wasn't a win, that was a tie. Not that great of a game in week 2. An average game in week 2 at best. And then this game, nice yards per carry here, but wasn't able to do too much overall yards. They didn't give it to him that much. He did play well. I can't say it's a bad game at all. But the point of it is, this is not Le'Veon Bell level production. He's not bringing you Le'Veon Bell talent, doing everything as a runner and a receiver like Le'Veon Bell had been doing in the past with Pittsburgh Steelers, or at least when healthy and not suspended, of course. So if Le'Veon Bell is traded or doesn't come back until week 11 or then takes the James Harrison advice and fakes an injury, well, then you're going to be dealing with James Conner's production, which is still good, not great. And there's a lot of room for this team to improve in terms of, yes, forcing turnovers is great, but does that mask the overall issue still from the defense? They still allowed a comeback late in that game. The yards were still there. 400-plus passing yards were still there. The secondary still got beat up. Fitzpatrick still able to throw the yards out there despite not an efficient game. They won the game, but a similar game to week 1 in a way they put out there against the Chiefs. They just didn't force the turnovers. So don't let the Steelers' turnovers and those interceptions fool you to think this defense has all of a sudden been fixed and been corrected. Because that's just not the case. It just isn't the case at all. Don't think James Conner, because of his great week 1 game with 135 yards and a couple touchdowns, and what he's done since with those yards per carry, is all of a sudden going to replace Le'Veon Bell for next year. And then the Steelers don't have to worry about another running back, and it's no big deal, and you're not going to miss Bell at all in his offense. Don't think that either, because, guys, they're missing Le'Veon Bell right now. Le'Veon Bell is the most dynamic back in football overall, maybe with Todd Gurley, and they're missing him. The offense would be better with him. But Ben looked good. More of that from Ben, especially on the road. That's going to help the cause. Steelers finally finding their mojo a little bit, getting that win. And Sunday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens, they're a team kind of riding high, able to get a win recently, a big win. They're over Buffalo. Granted, that was a different Bills team than we saw this past week. Joe Flacco's looked good early. Not many people really thought they were a sexy pick coming into the year, but they're been better than the Steelers. I'll say that to start the year. Not much. These are two evenly matched teams, it still appears. As Mike Tomlin said, it's going to be a typical Baltimore Ravens football that he'll expect and going to be part of that rivalry. So it can go either way. Steelers with a regular week, the late Monday game, but then the late Sunday game after. So he did his press conference on Tuesday, kind of surprising, and then moved into the regular week. So it's going to be a big divisional game, obviously. Already one tie in the division, a loss outside the division, and then a win outside the division, outside of the conference. But now this will be the trying for that first win in the division and to get out of the basement of the AFC North. But I am going to move off the Steelers here for a bit and touch on some recent news in the Pittsburgh sports world that's about to close here in the next couple weeks. So I got to touch on it while I can. And then we'll get to a semi-announcement for next week. I think it's a big announcement, but it's bringing you more coverage here on Pittsburgh Sports Live, or at least what I'm doing here on Mic Drop. It'll be opening up the doors for some Penguins coverage, some Penguins talk with some guests coming in the next few weeks as I begin that coverage as the Penguins season opens. Won't be able to give those guest names just yet, but some Penguins coverage is going to happen. Some big name guests are going to happen. So that's the announcement for you. Don't have no more hyping needed, but big name Penguin guests will be on this program. You'll get their Penguin takes as the Penguin season finally gets underway here in our coverage. Go over to Dan Kongursky at Pittsburgh Hockey Now as he brings you the day-to-day beat-style coverage with him and Shelly Anderson and company over there with the Penguins. A lot of Penguin content, too, on our channel at Pittsburgh Sports Live. But you'll get some Penguins talk here on this show from some big-name guests throughout the Penguins coverage in this fine city. So that's an announcement for you. That's the hype. You're going to get some big-name guests. And you're going to, if you don't like me, you're going to like those guests. So you're going to be able to come to this show for those guests. They're the maybe baby face to my heel, to say the least. And I've done some work with this first guy here who'll preview the season a lot in my last venture. Him and I did a lot of content in the past. So familiar voice, familiar face you'll get here with Pittsburgh Sports Live as we dive into Penguins coverage here all throughout the channel and here even on Mic Drop. But before I close things out, the Pittsburgh Pirates, look at that. They got a win last night. Chris Archer, winning pitcher. 3-3 in the National League since coming over. It was a bumpy road. Didn't get a win for a while there the first month and a half. 6 full innings, only allowing 4 hits, no earned runs, 9 Ks, only 2 walks, 4.30 ERA right now his time in the National League. Chris Archer threw a gem. Chris Archer threw a gem in his win. And not only Chris Archer, there's been hope with Chris Archer. He's certainly been pitching better. Remains to be seen whether he'll get his last start, because he could pitch one more time 5 days from now. Season ends, I believe, in 6-7 days. So he could slide in one more start as the team needs a couple more wins to get over 500 and have that winning season, which would only be their fourth in the last 25 years, as insane as that sounds. Those 3 playoff years, and then this would be this one. They're not going to make up that game against the Marlins, but they still have a chance to be over 500 or at least at 500, which not many people predicted, myself included. Nobody really thought that was going to be the case after the Cole and McCutchen trades, and so down on the team were the fans and media, and I was right there with you. I didn't. Certainly the Cole trade I wasn't happy with. I thought I could keep him around a little bit longer and soak up some more production from him as he's doing well with Houston. The Kutch trade I kind of knew was going to happen, but wasn't expecting much from this team. This team has overachieved from expectations. I'll say that. The attendance isn't there, though. Nobody's there. The worst attendance in PNC Park history. But will anybody open next season? Will anybody care to open up next season? And here's some reason why maybe they will. Archer pitching well. He'll be back next year. It'll bolster the staff. A full year of Archer, who finally is finding his groove in the National League and facing these hitters a few different times now and pitching well and pitching better. We saw there the 6 innings. Finally got a quality start. 3 wins now as a Pirate, a 4.3 ERA. Not amazing, but that's a nice start. See more of that from him. That's his former ace stuff back several years ago with the Rays. Get more of that from Archer, and he could be that ace they could fall, backwards into that they never really had with Cole or anybody else. They had a lot of great 2 or 3 starters. Archer has kind of been that guy the last couple of years with the Pirates or with the Rays, but maybe those type of starts bring him more into an ace-level production, and then the bullpen takes care of business. The bullpen has been that constant for the Pirates, so maybe there's the chance to find that ace-quality pitcher in Chris Archer the way he's been pitching his last few starts. If not him, though, if that won't bring him to the ballpark, Pablo Reyes. Don't know when he'll be at the ballpark next season. No guarantees there. But Pablo Reyes may bring him to the ballpark. 357, 3 homers, 7 ribbies, an OBP of 426. Pablo Reyes. Any of you guys heard of him a month and a half ago? You didn't know him personally? If you aren't really, truly a Pirates nerd, and there weren't many of you this year, or at least none of you went to the games. Worst attendance in PNC Park history. But Pablo Reyes, whether you knew him or not a month ago, he's here now. No one's been able to stop him in terms of pitchers. He has been a slugging phenomenon for the Pirates, not getting much national attention, but I'm going to give him some local flavor here because he's earned it. And that's reason for optimism as well. Chris Archer is pitching towards the end of the year, and how Pablo Reyes has come up there strong. There is some reason for optimism next year, and you never would have thought that a missed playoff appearance, the winning streak, and then kind of sliding and tanking afterwards, and it feeling like the Archer trade might have been for naught, and nobody going to games, and the whole fan revolt and the protests. But there is reason for optimism with how well Pablo Reyes has been playing and how well Chris Archer's been pitching. And these would be 2 young guys to build around for the future, and I know. The word rebuild is going to be that ticking time bomb and that annoyance that you're never going to want to hear. But let's face it, McCutchen was never going to be back. If his value was higher and he was still an MVP, he wouldn't have re-signed here anyway. That was never going to happen. And he wasn't that guy. He didn't play that well with San Francisco. He was up and down there and traded to New York. And I'm happy he's with New York. Hope he gets a ring. Add him to the list of former Pirates to play in a World Series. But it's not like he's been hitting the cover off the ball this year. So they're not really missing McCutchen's production. Cole, they would absolutely miss and could have had him for this season. And maybe a few more wins from Cole would have put them into the playoffs this year. Fair to say. Fair to say from what he's done with Houston. Huntington said another win a month would have put them into the postseason this year. And maybe true, maybe not. I don't know if those numbers add up, but close to. Couple more wins a month, depending on how things shake out. Maybe would have done it, and maybe that would have been from Cole. Maybe if they got more production from some other guys this year that kind of were less than they used to be. But somehow or another, despite all of that and all the criticism and nobody going to games, they're likely going to finish above 500 and have their 4th best winning season in the past 25 years, at very least be 500, and be well above expectations of most fans out there going into the season. But you've also had this happen before with Josh Bell and company, and Bell a little bit off than where he was in the past. You tear the cover off the ball late in the season, and then all of a sudden you fade. But there is reason for optimism, and it's fair to report it. Reason for optimism around the way Chris Archer's been pitching towards the end of the season, especially that last start, 6 innings, 9 Ks, no earned runs, 4 hits. Those type of starts from Chris Archer, that's borderline ace stuff, if he can keep that up. And then how Pablo Reyes has been hitting. Throw it up there one more time. Pablo Reyes. Look at that. 357, 3 homers, 7 RBI, 426 OBP. That type of production from Chris Archer, Pablo Reyes. Here's Archer's most recent start. That type of stuff, Archer and Reyes, there's a reason for optimism for next year. Will any fans be there, though, is going to be the question. So it's all going to be up in the air. But there is reason for optimism around the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's fair to say this team has been above expectations, and I was wrong from what I thought they would do in the offseason. Many of my colleagues were wrong, whether they want to admit it or not. And most of you fans who are not going to games were wrong because you thought they would be worse than they are. They did overachieve, or at least achieve above those expectations, as low as they were. And they're closing the year not making the playoffs, but with reason for optimism with how well Pablo Reyes is hitting and how well he's playing as a young stud so far the last month and a half. Complete phenomenon here that's not getting enough publicity. And then how Chris Archer's pitching and those type of quality starts and how he's been his last few starts, and if he can keep that up to open up next year, maybe even be the opening day starter after only being traded for at the deadline this year. So who knows? Supposedly there's also money around, and they may do something in the offseason. I'm beholding my breath right around with all of you, but say they don't, there's still some reason for optimism for next year to at least achieve to this level or a bit above, and a couple more wins a month potentially does put them into the playoffs, which, again, maybe would have happened with Cole still being on the team and healthy. So that's fair to say, and that doesn't get Huntington or any like that off the hook at all. But there's reason for optimism around the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's around Chris Archer and Pablo Reyes. But we'll see what happens with Reyes next year when he's in the Pirates, if he's in the Pirates, and how well he does. And Chris Archer, if he starts opening day, he'll be back. And if he can keep that type of production up, because that type of Chris Archer is a borderline ace, and they didn't have to give up much to get him. And I know Glasnow and Meadows, you think maybe is a lot to get him, but Chris Archer could be better than Glasnow for sure. If he pitches like that, it would then be worth the deal because he would be the best pitcher in the deal. He would give them that ace they haven't had even when Cole was here. He would bolster the staff, and he would be able to be that guy to rely on through next season. And he's been that all-star before for the Rays, leading them to contention. So could he do that again with the Pirates for a full season, now used to the National League, in what you would figure is an easier division and an easier league to pitch against because of no American League, no DH, no American League East with the Red Sox and Yankees. This should be easier for him. And a full season, he might just be finding his groove now. And then a lot of reason for optimism around Pablo Reyes and still the young studs around this team. So they were better than people thought. They were better than I thought. They were better than all of you thought. But, of course, much more room for improvement still, and still room for criticism, because if Cole was still here, maybe they would have had those wins, and they're not going to get much benefit of the doubt evident by nobody going to games, worst attendance in PNC Park history. So very curious to see what that attendance number is to open up next season, because I'd imagine the fan base and the fans and even media won't be as down as they were going into this past season, going into next season, because this team did play better than expectations because of Reyes and Archer and company, and because maybe what happens or doesn't happen throughout this offseason with some money they now have to play with. I doubt they do anything. I'm right there with you. But their expectations should be higher from where they were going into last season, and maybe the fan base will come back a little bit, at least early on, based on what Archer's doing, based on what Reyes is doing, based on the team so far down the stretch, who are still playing hard and still winning games and potentially will finish above 500. All of that remains to be seen, and nothing is guaranteed. But to say the least, there's reason for optimism around the Pittsburgh Pirates. I can't believe I'm saying it either, but I got that sentence out, so didn't choke on it either. We'll see if I choke on those words to open up next season. This has been a Radio Gold edition here of Mic Drop. Going to be bringing you, as I hyped it up for you, that it's didn't want to go full-fledged into it, but there's going to be some big-name guests coming into these studios here in Top Market Square, downtown Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh Sports Live Studios. Here, got a nice little brick wall behind me. There's the Penguins pennant. We're going to keep that on the wall amongst the pictures there as well, because the Penguins season is beginning. The Pittsburgh Hockey Now coverage is getting into full swing. Kongursky's coverage on this channel as well, bringing you a lot of video content with interviews of Sullivan and company about the Penguins season opening up next season. I believe next Thursday is when that opens up. And we're going to do a preview here on Mic Drop. We're going to give you a full-on Pittsburgh Penguins preview show here on Mic Drop, here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I'm sure it'll be elsewhere on the channel, but I'm going to give it to you with my expectations, my preview, my thoughts, my takes, and a big-name guest will join me and give all of his, and you'll probably care a lot more about his. But if you don't like me, go ahead. If you think I'm the heel, if you think I'm annoying, even though I'm honest and truthful, if you don't like hearing that, you don't want me to keep it real for you any longer, at least come for this big-name guest, because we're going to have a big-name guest here on Mic Drop on Pittsburgh Sports Live to preview the Penguins season next week. So keep coming for those guests that will slowly unveil, and everything else we're going to be doing here in a slow churn of our content here at Pittsburgh Sports Live. Still in our infancy, but growing, walking. We're crawling right now. Maybe walking will come soon, and then we'll be running full steam here at Pittsburgh Sports Live. Once again, check out our websites, pghsportslive.com. That's where you can find all of this content, all of this Radio Gold, all of these golden broadcasts from the YouTube channel, Pittsburgh Sports Live, then linked up on the website that I am running at PGH Sports Live. Go to Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Penguin season about to start, as I said. Go to Pittsburgh Sports Now. Go even to Pittsburgh Hockey Now. And then go find our Steelers coverage, etc. as well. This has been another Radio Gold edition here, or Golden Quality edition of Mic Drop on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I am your host, Mike Asti, conquering sports radio one day at a time.